Have you mastered the 5 basic rhythms of life? When you do, you're going to find that you're going to be much more successful. So stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we will educate you, lead you, and inspire you. At least that's our mantra. All right, anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we're going to talk today about rhythm. And that's a key element in the success of any particular individual. I'm going to point that out to you today. You know, previously on Project Eli, we talked about the importance of systems and why systems are important to get you going without thinking about it. Get your body in the correct physical state. You know, when you wake up in the morning, you have a quote-unquote system. I'm going to do this, I do that, and you do it without thinking about it to get yourself going, to get the inertia going in the right direction, positive inertia. All right? Well, that type of thing happens in all sorts of different walks of life. And recently, a couple of days ago, seems I'm going more and more often, I was at the doctor's office for somewhat of a checkup. And by the way, even I'm noticing that people in the doctor's office are really old, even much older than I am. As a matter of fact, I gave up my seat so somebody could sit down, and usually, you know, I don't have to do that, but hey, you do what you got to do, all right? And you know the system in the doctor's office, you walk in, you're in the big waiting room, you look around and see how everybody's old, you glance at the magazines, which are awful. You glance at the TV, and this particular doctor's office had 2 TVs, 2 different channels, and they were the boring channel A and the boring channel B. It's like if I want to watch paint dry, I'll buy my own paint, all right? But anyway, finally they called my name, Eli's dad. Yes, I get to go from the big waiting room to the small waiting room where you sit there and you look in the walls and they have information about high blood pressure, and things of that nature, and the changing channel of medical commercials, which, you know, always is an exciting prospect. So anyway, once you're there for a few minutes, you stop looking around and you start doing some quiet thinking. Oh, quiet thinking time forced upon me once again. You know, and when you sit there and you're in that little waiting room, you're thinking about what you have to do later today, you're thinking about things you want to get done. You know, quiet thinking time helps you plan your day, and the more you think, the better you become at it. Anyway, I digress, but I'm just saying. My point is to talk to you about rhythms. Like I said previously on Project Eli, we talked about systems, and today we're going to talk about the 5 different rhythms of life. And I was inspired to talk about this because I saw a very brief interview with one Thomas Brady, formerly of the New England Patriots, currently about to start his season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Today is his first game. I'm filming this on Sunday. The football season's just getting started. And they had a small clip. A reporter asked him a question, you know, how does it feel to be starting with a brand new team? Are you going to be able to get yourself ready, or are you know, changing organizations? Does that change the way you do things? And Tom Brady replied, you know, and I'm quoting here, your body just does things a certain way, and it's done it for a long time without you having to think. Being a great athlete is not having to think. Thinking is actually slower than just being able to react and to anticipate. So once again, I'm preaching the benefit of systems. Is once you get yourself in a good system, your actions are repetitive, they're subconscious, you do them without thinking, and then you can focus on anticipating and reacting instead of the function that you have to perform. Repetition means retention, and this is something that any coach will tell you, is get muscle memory. Essentially, that's what we're talking about here, is create muscle memory, and that will make you a better performer on the athletic field, by the way, also in the workplace. Let's talk about rhythm, because there are essentially 5 basic rhythms that we go through, and I want to go over with them. I'm going to use kind of a car analogy to describe them to you, all right? And but take these and use them as something that you're doing in life. You're getting into the correct rhythm. So let's talk about the 5 different rhythms, because you need the system and you need to get into the right rhythm. Because Eli, as you know as well as I do, when you're feeling quote unquote hot, whether it's when you're talking with members of the opposite sex that you want to make friends with, or you're playing basketball, or whatever you're doing, when you sort of get into the zone, when you get into that right rhythm, right things happen. But you got to recognize the different rhythms. So the first one is what we call the random rhythm. And the random rhythm, well, that's kind of like just when you get into your car and you're going to work, or you're going to the grocery store, or you're going someplace, and it's like you got a stop sign, you got a stoplight, it's stop and go. All right, that's a random rhythm. It's not like there's one continuous steady rhythm. It's a random rhythm, and you have to pay attention to that in a big way, because if you go through a red light, it can be some major difficulties, or if you don't stop at a stop sign, it could be some major difficulties. And so that's something where you have to be really focused on the actual function that you're performing. That's not something that you can do kind of by rote. I mean, the actual driving part, you do without thinking, but you have to do the starting and stopping. Does that make sense? All right, the regular rhythm, that's the second kind of rhythm. And that's like driving your car on a long, deserted stretch of highway. All right, and when I think of that, I think of the state of Texas, as an example, when you go from city to city. I mean, there are, Texas to me is like a planet. It's so big when you're on the road, and there's like nothing from one city to another, and you're in between, and you're in the regular rhythm. You put on the thing that, you don't even have to keep your foot on the gas, the thing that, measures the gas for you and keeps you at a certain speed, and you just put that on and move with that. So that's a regular rhythm. The third type of rhythm is what we call an alternating rhythm. And an alternating rhythm is like driving on a racetrack. All right, you have continuous left-hand turns as an example. Continuous left-hand turns on the racetrack, and then followed by a straightaway, and then another left-hand turn, and then another straightaway. All right, so it's like, you're doing the same thing, but you're kind of alternating what you're doing. You got to turn, you got to turn, you got to straightaway, you got to turn, you got to turn. All right, that's an alternating rhythm. A flowing rhythm. Now, here's a flowing rhythm, and when I think of a flowing rhythm, I lived in New York City one summer, and I was living in Queens, and my girlfriend was living in Manhattan. So one of the things I had to do was, learn how to drive in New York City, which is not a particularly easy thing to do if you haven't done it. But one of the things you learn is that once you get on these major arteries in Manhattan, is that the lights, the street lights, are coordinated for a certain speed. So like, and I'm thinking it's probably like 30 or 35 miles an hour, somewhere in that ballpark. So if you're going 30 or 35 miles an hour and you're going along, then the light are coordinated so that it will be green when you get there if you maintain that speed. If you go too fast when you get to the light, it's still going to be red. So it's sort of a way to monitor how fast people can go, because they're going to end up at a red light. And once you get into that flow, into that rhythm of the right speed, then you're really able to go, even in Manhattan, not so much during the day, but at night when there's less traffic, and you're able to make some pretty good time without stopping at every single traffic light. So that's a flowing rhythm. And then you have the progressive rhythm. And the progressive rhythm is kind of like, you get in your car, you get your car started, you put your foot on the gas, and you have a small amount of gas, and you're moving forward. And as you want to increase your speed, you're continuing pressure on the gas pedal, and you're adding more and more gas, and you're progressively speeding up. So those are essentially, the 5 different rhythms of life. And just to kind of once again use Tom Brady, where would he use the random rhythm? All right, well, when he's calling signals, he calls them, in a regular basis, but if he wants to draw the other team offside, what he'll do is he'll use a regular rhythm and then change it to a random rhythm. He'll let the people on his team know, I'm gonna do hut 1, hut 2, and normally let's say they hike it on hut 2, all right, but we're not gonna hike it on hut 2. We're going to keep going, and then we're going to try and draw the other team offside because they get into a rhythm, and we're going to try and fool them. All right. The regular rhythm is just, okay, we have our, our 4 downs to score the touchdown, and so we're going to get on the field and we're going to draw everybody together, get into the huddle, and work together. Here's the huddle, line up, signals, go. So you get a regular rhythm with your teammates so that everybody is in sync. The alternating rhythm. All right, well, what you might do is you might have a man come in motion, all right, and so you're changing, you have the regular rhythm, but then you're stopping and you have the man come in motion, he goes by, and then you continue calling your signals. That's kind of like an alternate rhythm. And then the flowing rhythm is, let's say that one of the things that teams do is they fall behind at the end of the game, and they do the hurry up offense where they don't even get into a huddle, and they make the play, and then they run to the line, and he calls the play out, and you get into sort of a rhythm of doing that, and then the defense starts to get on their heels and they start to motor on down the field. You, of course, Eli, have experienced the flowing rhythm is when you're feeling it and you get the ball, when you're playing basketball and you get the ball in just the right space where you catch, step, boom, and you shoot, and you're in your flowing rhythm. All right? And, the progressive rhythm is when you start running the other team off the field. You just, every single thing that you're doing is working, and you're just speeding things up as quickly as you can in all aspects of the game. So, think about these 5 different rhythms that you have: the random rhythm, the regular rhythm, the alternating rhythm, the flowing rhythm, and the progressive rhythm where you're continuously putting your foot on the gas. Once you master those along with your system and get them in coordination with your system and figure out how you want your system to work, which rhythm you want to use, then that will make you a more successful person. Does that make sense? And because we will never end a meeting on a philosophical note, we will keep our rhythm intact. Let's get out there and charge! I'm Eli's dad.